Hey guys, it's Christian. For this video, I kind of wanted to switch up the format that I did for last video. For this one, I kind of wanted to do more of a what Marvel Phase 5 needs. For Phase 4, it's been kind of, at least in my opinion, it's been kind of hit or miss. So I'm trying to keep the hope alive for Phase 5, just because there's so many, different movies and films that are actually, I'm pretty excited for. So yeah, I just thought I'd go through each of the films that were announced and the TV shows that were announced, and just kind of give my thoughts and opinions and kind of my hopes for what Phase 5 could be. So without further ado, let's jump in. So we'll start off with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. For this one, I'm pretty excited for. The trailer was, and I was a little underwhelmed by the trailer. I mean, I know it's a teaser trailer, so there's still a lot of things that they still need to explain, and like a lot of like CGI that they still need to finish up and everything. I just know there's going to be a lot of essential elements that go into Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, since Kang the Conqueror is going to be like the main villain of the next Avengers films. Honestly, I think that Kang should have been introduced just in this movie. I know his variant was in Loki with like He Who Remains. I talked about this in my previous video, but I feel like Loki should have just been more just like a heist kind of movie, or yeah, just like a movie, because I know it was a show, but I think it could have just been condensed into like a 2-hour movie and just been about like Loki's chaos throughout, I don't know, the multiverse or the different realms and stuff like that. And they could have just saved Kang for this film instead. But yeah, that's just kind of like my thoughts. And I'll get to Loki a little bit later on, but at least for now, we'll stick with Ant-Man the Wasp. But yeah, I'm excited for Kang. I'm excited to see his origin story. I'm excited to see how he kind of ties in with Janet's history, just because I know they're going to kind of delve into Janet's history being in the quantum realm, and maybe look at that kind of tension-filled relationship she has with Kang, because I think, just based on like rumors and theories and stuff, like she like trapped Kang within the quantum realm for a reason, obviously, and that kind of grew his bitterness towards Janet and then like her family after that. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that conflict kind of boil to the surface, and kind of see how Scott Lang and like Cassie Lang, how they kind of fit into everything. I'm also excited for MODOK. Like honestly, I don't know too much about the character of MODOK, but just doing like research, I know he's like a big character. I know there are rumors that that Corey Stoll, who played Darren Cross in the original Ant-Man, is kind of rumored to be MODOK. So I think that would be kind of a cool callback to the original Ant-Man movie, and kind of have this kind of full circle moment. So yeah, I would look forward to it if it was Corey Stoll's character as MODOK in this movie. And I think another thing that I'm excited for is that it can kind of go deeper into Scott Lang's ego, because I feel like in the trailers and stuff, he has like his autobiography, and everyone's like cheering him on. He's going to Baskin Robbins and or the coffee shop, and everyone's like, "Oh, thank you, Spider-Man." And even though they kind of got his name wrong, it's still they're still cheering him on, and he kind of has this kind of. It seems like he kind of has like this little bit of arrogance about him. So it'll be a really cool character arc, just because in the trailer he kind of has that confrontation with Kang, and it's like, so what's gonna be, Ant-Man? And I think this could really kind of bring his character down, and in a good way, kind of humble his character, and realize that it's not all about him. It's really about this family that he has. And I like the fact that Cassie is actually being brought into the adventure as well, just because she's kind of been on the sidelines in the first 2 movies. So it'd be kind of cool seeing her suit up and everything, and join the family. And yeah, I'm glad that it can kind of go into like the side characters like Janet and Hope and Hank. I'm excited to see how Hope kind of gets kind of tied into everything, just because she was a very confident character in Ant-Man, and then especially in Ant-Man the Wasp. And to be blipped for 5 years and kind of having to catch up on everything along with the rest of the family, I think that would be a good way to kind of humble her character as well. So yeah, I'm really excited for like the whole kind of family dynamic and the family kind of aspect to this story. I'm also excited for more Janet, kind of like what I was saying earlier, her past relationship with King, and kind of see she has kind of like a shady kind of side to her, and she's kind of more kind of, I guess, like more three-dimensional in this one, since she was kind of more just introduced in Ant-Man the Wasp, so we kind of get more of her and more of her backstory and everything. So I think that'd be really cool. And then Hank, he's the original Ant-Man. I'm sure he'll have some great kind of like mentor things for Scott and for Hope and for Cassie as well, to kind of help them with their battle towards Kang. And I'm also really excited to see more of the quantum realm and more of like the time vortexes and the multiverse kind of concepts being explained a little bit more. I know they were kind of hinted at a little bit in Endgame, but for this movie, we can get this movie really just takes place in the quantum realm. So yeah, it'd be nice to kind of see more of like those concepts be explored a little bit more. Maybe we'll get more like time travel, more kind of bouncing between universes, because I know there's a difference between multiverse and realms and everything, and like the realms are kind of like I guess the in-between points between the multiverses, where you can kind of go into a realm and then pop up in a different universe. Like overall, I just hope that they explain like what the multiverse is. Like, was it already a thing, or did Loki cause it when he at the end of his season, where Sylvie killed He Who Remains, and then everything kind of split off and everything? Like, I guess that's kind of like the confusing aspect of the whole kind of multiverse saga, is like kind of how did it start? Was it already around? Like, who created it? Who discovered it? So I really hope they kind of delve more deeply into that. Kind of like what I was saying before, they kind of introduced the whole idea of the multiverse with Loki, and He Remains with all the variants and stuff. But yeah, I really hope that maybe, with Quantumania, that this can be just like a fresh start to the whole kind of multiverse explanation, and that we'll get more of Kang, obviously, since he's like the main villain in this one, and he's not just like someone who pops in at the end of Loki season 1. And yeah, I really hope this kind of steers the ship a little bit more, for like explanation for the multiverse saga, and kind of plants the seeds for what's to come in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But overall, I'm pretty excited for it. Wasn't super overwhelmed by the trailer. It was a teaser after all. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm excited for Kang. I'm excited to see more of explanation of the multiverse, the quantum realm, more of like Marvel's history, and then kind of like the setup for future Avengers films. All right, and then we move on to What If Season 2. I wasn't the hugest fan of What If. I thought a handful of episodes were really great. I thought like the Doctor Strange episode was obviously the best one, and then maybe like the finale with the Guardians of the Multiverse was pretty cool, and even like the Captain Carter episode was also really cool as well. I think it was nice that they set up a lot of the events in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where we saw Dark Doctor Strange, or Doctor Strange Supreme. We saw Captain Carter in the Illuminati, or at least that version, that Dimensions version of the Illuminati. So it's kind of nice to see, that this wasn't just like a self-contained show or anything, but that it really kind of tied in to the deeper Marvel cinematic universe. So yeah, I appreciated that. When it comes to season 2, I'm not like overwhelmingly excited, and especially since we don't really know what the episodes are going to be or anything, but I assume that I think one of them they announced is like, it's like Captain Carter goes against Steve Rogers when he's in that kind of mech suit and everything, so I think that could be pretty cool. I hope they kind of further explore the Guardians of the Multiverse, and then maybe have more Doctor Strange Supreme and Captain Carter and everything. Well, I guess obviously because they had the announcement of the episode that she's going to be in. But yeah, and then I'm also excited for like more of the Watcher. I hope they give kind of more explanation for him. Maybe they kind of talk more about the multiverse, kind of round out kind of the events that were in Quantumania, and then kind of set up Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars with that. And another thing that I'm really excited for What If is just kind of more, obviously, what if scenarios with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As I know with the first season, they kind of centered around Phase 1, all the Phase 1 kind of Avengers characters. So it'd be kind of nice to see more kind of like Phase 2 and 3, like maybe like what if Thanos won at the end of Endgame or something, or what if the Avengers got attempted by all the Infinity Stones or something and it became evil, or something like that. But yeah, just like other kind of what if scenarios. I know they're going to do like a Marvel Zombies and stuff, which I thought was a fine episode, but yeah, we'll see if they do like a longer special, kind of like what they did with World by Night and soon to be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, where they kind of have like, instead of just like a 30-minute episode, they'll do like a 55-minute special or something. So I think that could be cool. I haven't read that comic. I know it's based on like a comic storyline, which I haven't read, but yeah, I think it can be kind of cool, like a Walking Dead in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we'll see what happens with that one. And I know that there was like another episode that I think was cut from season 1 because COVID happened and they weren't able to kind of finish production quickly enough. With all the delays and stuff. So I think there's like a Gamora Tony Stark episode. And then after watching season 1, I noticed that there was kind of like a missing piece to that, where like Gamora and Tony kind of show up and everything. It's like, oh, where'd they come from? Because they were on their separate adventure. So it'd be nice to finally see that episode play out. But yeah, overall, I think What If's like a fun concept. I think if they really kind of delve more deeply into kind of the multiverse and the Watcher, and kind of set up future Avengers films with this show, I think it'd be really cool. Maybe have more like serialization with the show instead of having a bunch of one-offs and everything. I don't mind like one-offs within What If and everything, but I just hope that there's more like serialization, more connective tissue within the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, instead of just like oh, this is just like a fun one and done episode. Oh yeah, and then lastly, I think it'd be nice to see more of like what if the Watcher interfered with different events, because I know he's supposed to be the Watcher. He's supposed to be observant of what's going on, and he's not supposed to get involved with certain aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it'd be nice if he broke his oath every once in a while, and we get more consequences of his actions and everything. So if he like interfered with like the first Avengers movie, or like with Age of Ultron or something, and get more kind of like repercussions of his actions, I think that would be really cool. And then maybe if he pops up in an actual live action Marvel movie, I think that would be cool to see Jeffrey Wright in his Watcher garb and everything. Because I know they showed a little hint at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 of the Watcher, like Stan Lee is like talking to the Watcher. So we've seen live action Watchers, so yeah, it'd be nice to see Jeffrey Wright in one of them, and then see how that kind of ties into the larger MCU. All right, and then we move on to Secret Invasion. Actually, yeah, really looking forward to this one because Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury. It'd be nice to see what he's been up to since the events of Far From Home. See what he's been doing in space. Maybe get more tie-ins with that, because obviously he's going to be coming back down to Earth as Skrulls are popping up within like the government and just society in general. So yeah, it'd be nice to kind of get more explanation of like what he's been up to this whole time. Get more of Talos and his people more involved, kind of explain like what they've been up to this entire time. Yeah, just kind of give more backstory to the Skrulls, just because we got a little bit a hint of it in Captain Marvel, of like who they are and everything, and like the different factions. But it'd be kind of nice to kind of dive into them a little bit more, like what are their motivations, like why are they here, like why do they want to bring down the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the society and everything. Because I know this is based on the Secret Invasion comic series, but I have a feeling they're not going to stick to that, because I read up on it and I was just like, yeah, they're not going to stick with that. So I think it's going to be more of like a smaller scale type story, which is totally fine with like adapting, because I know it's like a huge series. So and I think this is just going to be like a 6-episode series. So just kind of have it more self-contained and more focused on Nick Fury and Agent Ross and Marie Hill and all these new characters who are trying to deal with everything, and Rhodey as well. Would be really cool, kind of like a spy espionage paranoia thriller where you don't really know who's who within the government. So I think that could be a really fun idea for a show. I also read up that we're going to kind of explore more of Nick Fury's past, and some other characters as well. I know we got a little bit of it in Captain Marvel, kind of like what I was saying earlier, like how Nick Fury kind of like got into Shield and kind of how he like rose up in the ranks. But yeah, it'd be nice to kind of get maybe every episode kind of has like a flashback, kind of like a Godfather Part 2 style, where they kind of flash back to Nick Fury's kind of like past of kind of rising up in the ranks and how he became director of Shield, how he met Coulson, how he met Maria Hill, how he met Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton and everything, to kind of get that kind of tie-in, because he's still a mysterious character, and I think having just more explanation, more than there was in Captain Marvel, would be really good for his character. And I think we as fans obviously would like to see more of that. And I love Nick Fury. He's the one who started the Avengers in the first place. It'd be kind of cool to see how he created the Avengers Initiative. So we got a little bit of that hint in Captain Marvel, kind of how he kind of developed it, kind of how he had tabs on the different Avengers characters before he kind of brought them all together. But yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of like a more grounded kind of spy espionage show within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And another thing that I think would be really cool is if they kind of delve more deeply into the Kree Skrull War, because we got hints of that in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie with the Kree, and then obviously in Captain Marvel with the Skrulls. So it'd be kind of nice to see what started the whole thing. Maybe get some more flashbacks to that. So I don't know how much they're gonna explain all that, but it would be nice to have maybe like the opening scene is like the origin of like why the Skrulls are enemies of Earth, why they made enemies with the Kree. Maybe see more of that conflict, more of that war. Yeah, maybe we'll see more of like Ronin or more of Talos. But I know this is more just like speculation at this point. Like I don't know if they'll kind of dive that deeply into it. I think it's going to be more of like the grounded story, like on Earth with Nick Fury and the other agents and everything. But yeah, it'd be kind of nice to see more of like Talos kind of explaining what happened back in the day with the war and everything, and like what caused it. And then lastly, I think just setting up Rhodey for Armor Wars, because I think that was originally going to be a series, and now it's going to be a movie. That kind of got pushed back. But yeah, it was kind of nice seeing Rhodey in Falcon the Winter Soldier for like a brief second. So it'd be kind of nice to see him in a more of like a bigger role within the Marvel Cinematic Universe post Endgame. To kind of see him more involved in the government. Maybe we'll get more of like how he's reeling from the loss of Tony, the tension he has with Sam Wilson about passing on the mantle of Captain America. Maybe we'll get more Captain America New World Order tie-ins, maybe just like little hints and stuff of like what's going on with those characters. Maybe some Thunderbolts tie-ins as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Rhodey in a larger role in this series. Just because he's been there since the beginning. He's been there since the first Iron Man, even though obviously it was a different actor, Don Cheadle instead of Terrence Howard. But his character of Rhodey was there, and I know there's like different theories and stuff that like Rhodey might be a Skrull since. It was Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man, and then the second Iron Man it was Don Cheadle, and then something that looks completely different. It's just it's another black actor. Let's just it's fine. No one will notice. Like, let's get the lightest actor we can, and then replace him with the darkest actor we can, and then have it be the same character. So yeah, sorry, little tangent, but anyway, back on track. I don't know how I would feel about him being a Skrull, but I mean, I guess it would kind of be like a meta joke or something that suddenly he looks completely different from one movie to the next movie. He was like a shapeshifter or something, but anyway, having him in a larger role within the Marvel Universe would be a really good choice, and then set up future events in Armor Wars, kind of just plant the seeds for his character and like what he's up to. All right, and then we move on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this one. As of this recording, I have not seen the holiday special, so I'm not sure how much that's going to tie in. Just based on the trailers and everything, I think it's just going to be kind of just a self-contained story of Peter Quill learning the true meaning of Christmas with the rest of the Guardians. So I don't really think it's going to be super essential. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe like there's like a little Easter egg at the end of it where it's just like, oh shoot, this is directly setting up Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But we'll see. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited. I really love, as I kind of said in like my previous video, like I'm a huge fan of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The second one was fine for me, but But although it did have a lot of like, great moments, especially with Yondu with this whole sacrifice and everything, I thought was great. And then yeah, Peter's relationship with Ego I thought was good too. But I just thought with that one it kind of doubled down on what everyone liked from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie instead of kind of like building up on it and kind of shifting things. Yeah, I think with this one it can go really deeper into Star-Lord's kind of storyline, with kind of like his reeling after the loss of Gamora, the loss of the real Gamora, and then them trying to find this kind of new kind of alternate dimension Gamora, which would be really cool. So I think in this one, Gamora is like she meets up with the Ravengers and she becomes like the new leader of the Ravengers. So I think that could be a really cool storyline. For that character where it's like a completely different Gamora, and then Star-Lord kind of has to kind of deal with not only losing the real Gamora, but then seeking out this new Gamora who's completely different from the old Gamora, and kind of give him kind of like more of like, I guess, more agency in the story, kind of give him more drama to his character. And I was reading up on James Gunn's ideas for Volume 3 and how like this is supposed to be kind of like an ending to the whole Guardians of the Galaxy iteration, this kind of iteration of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think, at least for me, I think it'd be really cool if Star-Lord kind of sacrificed himself for the Guardians in a way, and then they can kind of like move on and become this newly formed team that Quill kind of formed, and they can kind of go off into the galaxy and be Guardians and protect it from all these different intergalactic threats and everything. So I think that that'd be really cool for his character. And I know he also said that Rocket is supposed to have like a big part in this movie as well. Even if he becomes the new leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think that would be a really cool arc for his character, because in the first one he was kind of more of he was kind of like antagonistic. He was like the one who's just in it for the money. He was just in it for himself. And then by the second one, even the second one and in Infinity War, he was still very much like I just want the best weapons in the world, or I just want I'm just trying to get away from all the danger and everything. So, and then by Endgame, his character kind of shifted a little bit, where he was really like all for his family, so to speak. Where like Groot is obviously his best friend, and then the rest of the Guardians become like his family. So that'd be kind of cool if he becomes the new leader of the Guardians, if they decide to kind of kill off Star-Lord's character in a way, and in like a epic sacrifice. And I think another thing that I would be really excited to see would be kind of like the continuation of the whole Aisha Adam Warlock post-credit scene at the end of Volume 2, just because there's like 5 post-credit scenes at the end of Volume 2, and it seemed like none of them really kind of led into anything else beyond that movie. So it'd be nice to finally see like, okay, finally we're going to see Aisha and the Sovereign and Adam Warlock in full form. And Will Poulter is supposed to play Adam Warlock, and he's obviously a great actor. He's got eyebrows for days, those intense eyebrows. So yeah, it'd be cool to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and especially as Adam Warlock, because out of all the adaptations, like from the comics to the films, Infinity Gauntlet is like one of my favorites. I've read that countless times, and in that story, Adam Warlock is obviously the one who kind of resolves everything, and he's clearly a big character. So when they hinted at that at the end of Volume 2, I was really excited, because I thought he was going to show up in Infinity War and Endgame and kind of be like the savior who kind of helps save the universe. They kind of gave that role more toward Captain Marvel, which is a whole other story. But yeah, it'd be nice to see Adam Warlock as like the main villain, the main threat in Volume 3. And then hopefully he'll have like an arc and become like an ally, so to speak, to the Avengers, and maybe help out in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Kind of like how Namor in Wakanda Forever, he was technically an ally for the Wakandans, but he's still kind of in it for himself in a way. So I kind of hope they do that with Adam Warlock, where at the very end maybe he turns against Aisha and then takes out the Sovereign, and then he becomes maybe like flies off and he'll say like I'll return, but only when I see fit. And I know in the Infinity Gauntlet comic series, there's, the character of Pip, who's also was hinted at the end of Eternals. So it would make sense if, maybe he flies off and meets the Eternals, and then, kind of brings them into the fray for King Dynasty and Secret Wars. So yeah, I can definitely see them, planting the seeds here and there to kind of, continue the adaptation of like, Infinity Gauntlet and like all these other, future Avengers movies and stuff. So hopefully they do that, because I think that'd be really cool to kind of tie in all these kind of disparate threads together. Because I talked about it in my last video, but it just seemed like Phase 4 especially, there's just like a bunch of different like storylines, different tones, and none of them really connect. I guess Kevin Feige was saying that like Phase 4, like a lot of the things are kind of more self-contained. Like a lot of like the movies and the series are kind of more self-contained, and like it doesn't really tie in as much. But I guess it was just kind of jarring because phases 1 through 3, everything kind of tied in, even though maybe some things were a little bit more self-contained, but maybe there was like a little Easter egg or a little like post-credit scene or something that kind of tied in everything into, the Infinity Saga, the overall Infinity Saga and everything. Whereas Phase 4, there's like a lot of like post-credit scenes and a lot of kind of self-contained stories where it's just like, okay, how does this all tie in? And I feel like with Phase 5, this is kind of like a fresh start to the multiverse saga, where like right off the bat we're getting Quantumania, and we're getting Kang, and we're getting the quantum realm and everything, and we're getting all these tie-in stuff. And then so far, at least from the movies and shows I talked about earlier to now, it seems like everything's kind of tying in a little bit more. So we'll see if that continues. But yeah, so far, yeah, as I said earlier, like I think I'm a little bit more excited for Phase 5. I think there's a little bit more connective tissue, a little bit more of a through line to get us to the end. So we'll see. But anyway, let me move on with Guardians 3. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for Volume 3. Like Guardians the Guardians in general are just like some of my favorite characters. So we'll see how they all tie in. And I think just having more kind of drama, more weight to this movie, kind of having be more of like a resolution to the Guardians storyline, kind of like what they're doing with Ant-Man. It seems like they're kind of going more into like a darker tone with the comedic characters. Scott Lang was obviously a funny character in all of his movies, and now he's kind of going through some stuff in Quantumania. And then I'm hoping, I know we haven't seen any trailers or any footage or anything for Volume 3, but just based on like the casting and like the plot, the premise and everything, it seems like they're kind of going more into a darker direction. So I hope they stick with that with Volume 3, and yeah, I'm excited to see it. All right, and then we move on to Echo. This one I'm pretty excited for. Not like super overwhelmingly excited about it. I really liked the character of Maya Lopez in Hawkeye. I thought she was a really interesting character. Not only the fact that she's deaf, but she's also like an amputee, and she's Native American. I think bringing in those kind of demographics into the MCU would be really, really cool. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I think one of the biggest things I'm most excited to see is kind of like the fallout after the events of Hawkeye, where spoiler alert, she took the gun and like shot Kingpin, and I guess he survived because the camera pans up. We don't technically see what happened to him, but I guess news reports are saying that he's going to be blinded, at least in one eye. And then he survived and got away. So it'd be nice to see what happened to him. Set up the seeds for Daredevil Born Again, which I'm also excited for, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But as for this one, this one's supposed to center around Echo's familial ties to the Native American culture, and I think that would be really cool because that's something we haven't really seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is kind of like Native American culture. Or just films in general. We don't really see a lot of that, so it'd be kind of nice to see how she kind of goes from the head of the tracksuit mafia, and then kind of coming back into kind of this normal life, the normal life on this Native American reserve and everything. Obviously, she's going to kind of be drawn back into the action because Kingpin's not going to like lay down quietly and everything. He's obviously going to come back and retaliate. It'd be really cool to see how she's trying to adjust to this, back to her culture, and then suddenly this impending threat comes onto her land and her people, and she has to really become like a hero. I'm not really sure how it's gonna tie into like the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like I assume she's going to be a hero, and then fight alongside the Avengers and everything. But yeah, I guess that's the only thing is like I don't really know if this is going to be more self-contained or if this is going to like really lead into Secret Wars and King Dynasty. Like honestly, I'm not really familiar with her character at all in the comic books, so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. If she's more front and center in the comic books and everything, but at least as far as the movies and films and stuff, I'm not really sure how she's going to tie in. Like maybe there'll be like a cameo from Hawkeye or from Kate Bishop's character, and they kind of like they tell her about the Avengers, like, oh, there's this initiative and we need more recruits. So I think that'd be cool because like she was a really interesting character in Hawkeye. Yeah, she kicked a lot of butt and took a lot of names. So yeah, I think she'll definitely be a formidable opponent to whoever she takes on in any films or series moving forward. I hope they go more into her past and everything. Her relationship with Kingpin and the Tracksuit Mafia. I know they kind of hinted at it a little bit in Hawkeye, but kind of like what I was saying before with like Secret Invasion, maybe they'll do like extended flashbacks to how she got involved in this mafia and how she kind of rose up in the ranks a little bit. Kind of explain more of like her family, explain more of her father, explain more of like the betrayal of Kingpin to her father. The whole kind of revenge aspect to that. But yeah, just get more of like who Maya is as a person, how she deals with, being deaf, how she deals with, being an amputee, obviously being, in Native American culture. Because yeah, we didn't really get a ton in Hawkeye, which is understandable. It was about Hawkeye and it was about Kate Bishop, and she was kind of more of like a side character in that. But she was definitely interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see just more of her, more of like a show that just centers around her. Yeah, it'd be cool to see more like ASL in the show as well. Just kind of like bringing the deaf community and everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to her character. I think she's just very, very interesting. Like I said before, I don't really know too much about her from the comic books, but yeah, so we'll see what happens with this show. I'll give more explanation to her, and yeah, we'll see. I know there's going to be like a possible storyline with Matt Murdock searching for Jessica Jones, which would be amazing, just because, I love, clearly, I said in like the last video that Daredevil is like one of my favorite series, like the Netflix Daredevil, like those first 3 seasons were amazing. Jessica Jones was fine in my opinion. Definitely wasn't as great as Daredevil. That was definitely the highlight. But seeing them kind of bring in the Netflix Marvel heroes into the show would be really, really cool. Especially Jessica Jones, because like even though like I wasn't a huge fan of the show, I thought Jessica Jones as a character was great. So kind of seeing her brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now with Matt Murdock, with MCU's version of Matt Murdock, would be really, really fun. And then maybe I'll get this more in Daredevil Born Again, but maybe if they bring in more like like Luke Cage, maybe Iron Fist, bring in the Defenders, maybe that can be like the storyline for Daredevil Born Again. But yeah, I'll get to that a little bit later. But I know that's going to be like a little hint for that show. So we'll see if they do that. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. To kind of bring in those characters a little bit more of like the darker Avengers characters into the MCU. But yeah, overall I'm excited for Echo. I think she's a really interesting character, and I look forward to seeing her have her own series and how she kind of ties in to the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. All right, now we move on to Loki Season 2. I know I talked about it a little bit previously with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And in my previous video where I wasn't the biggest fan of Loki, so I'm not super excited for Loki Season 2, but I know we're getting one, so I'm hoping that for this one we kind of see more of an explanation of, I guess, the consequences of killing He Who Remains, and then the timeline kind of splitting up. Just get more explanation of the multiverse, kind of like what I was saying before about, okay, was it really bad that we split up the timeline into all these multiverses and all these branch universes and everything, when clearly there's already a multiverse established in Multiverse of Madness? So it's like, okay, did we create the multiverse in Loki, or was it already there? and maybe like these are all like the variant universes where different versions of these characters from these multiverses appear. Like that, I guess that's just the confusing aspect of Loki. Is that like, okay, where did the multiverse start? Who created it? Was it Loki who did it after Sylvie killed He Remains? So I hope they kind of tie that in a little bit more. Kind of like what I was saying earlier about like phase 4, that just didn't really seem like there was like a lot of connective tissue. There wasn't really a through line. There wasn't really like a focal point of like where the multiverse starts and how it spreads out and everything. So yeah, I really hope they kind of just explain that a little bit more. Maybe, who knows, maybe Loki season 2 will just be a fresh start, which I guess they're kind of hinting at with at the end of season 1, where like nobody knows who Loki is, like Mobius and Renslayer and all them. They kind of like lost their memories of Loki and everything. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Maybe they realize like, oh shoot, we kind of already explained that there's already a multiverse in Multiverse of Madness, so we kind of have to like retcon it in a way, and kind of start everything over. So hopefully they talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I guess something that I hope to see more is like just more explanation of the TVA, the people who work in it. Obviously they're bringing in different actors and everything. The actor who played like Short Round in Indiana Jones is going to be in it. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool if he's like, this new character that kind of teams up with Loki, and I think he's supposed to be some kind of like analyst character or something. So maybe we'll get more explanation of like who the TVA is, like what they do, like their history, their throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and just get more explanation really of like what's going on. Maybe he'll be kind of like the character who explains everything to Loki. Maybe he didn't lose his memory, and maybe he and Loki kind of team up, with Mobius and Renslayer and all the Hunter characters, and kind of figure out what's going on, and with Sylvie as well. But yeah, I just hope there's just more tie-ins to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. Maybe they find out about King the Conqueror. Maybe at the end of Quantumania, Kang gets out, and this kind of sets up the Kang Dynasty Avengers movie, and then Loki, finds out about it, and then that's how he kind of gets involved into the Avengers movies, and maybe Loki becomes an Avenger in a way. That'll be kind of like a cool twist for his character, whereas like in the first Avengers movie, he was obviously the main villain, and now in this movie, if he ends up being in Kang Dynasty, he's actually one of the Avengers, and actually helps fight alongside them and like defeat Kang and everything, since he's partially responsible for He Remains being killed, and then the multiverse splitting up, and Kang in a way kind of rising to power and everything with his variant. So I think that'd be a really cool tie-in for Loki's character. And yeah, I think this would be a really cool opportunity to kind of give more backstory to He Who Remains / King the Conqueror, since he was first introduced at the end of season 1 of Loki with He Who Remains. And he was kind of like giving all that exposition to Loki and Sylvie about the multiverse, and him being a conqueror and everything. If there's like a post-credit scene either in Quantumania or in Loki season 2 where like Loki meets up with Scott Lang, and because we haven't really seen those two together. Like I guess we kind of technically saw them in Endgame in a way where where this whole thing started, where Loki got the Tesseract and then teleported to the desert, and then that's where Loki kind of went off from there. So that was kind of like their only interaction. But yeah, to see that more of that tie-in together, where like Loki has all this information, and Sylvie too, if they decide to kind of bring her more into the roles and everything. It'd be cool to see those characters all kind of meet up and kind of start to form this kind of new Avengers in a way, to take on Kang, since Scott, Hope, Cassie, Hank, and Janet have been facing Kang in the quantum realm, and then Loki and Sylvie facing He Who Remains in the TVA and everything like that. To kind of have that crossover and have them kind of exchange, like, I know this information, you know that information, so now we can kind of work together to defeat Kang, now that he's out and he's conquering everything. I think that'd be really, really cool to have like that sort of tie-in, and that sort of connected tissue. So we'll see what happens with that, but I think it'd be really, really exciting if they actually do that. All right, now we move on to the Marvels, and with this one I'm pretty excited for. Not super crazy excited, but I think it could be interesting. I think the thing that is kind of drawing me to it the most is kind of the whole switcheroo aspect, where at the end of Miss Marvel, she tries to activate her powers, and then she's suddenly transported somewhere else, and then Carol Danvers' character kind of gets teleported to her dimension. I think that would be a really cool twist. Because I know eventually they'll all kind of group together and be the Marvels and everything, but to have maybe the first act of this movie kind of be kind of like the switcheroo that that these characters are going through, be a really fun aspect, and kind of get kind of fans on board with this storyline and everything. But yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited for is kind of seeing these characters in unfamiliar situations, seeing Captain Marvel suddenly in this teenage girl's bedroom in New Jersey. It's like, wait, what the heck is going on? I think something that Marvel should do, which I'm hoping they do with Captain Marvel's character, is kind of humble her character down a little bit more, just because especially in Endgame, and kind of in Captain Marvel, she's kind of like this OP character, this overpowered character where she can kind of just swoop in and take down all these Thanos' ships. She's kind of like the Hail Mary of the Avengers. Can hold her own, go toe to toe with Thanos and everything. With Captain Marvel, it wasn't my favorite movie, and she's not my favorite character. She's obviously a very strong character, which was great. But I feel like that's kind of the only aspect to her character. She's just strong, and that's it. I really liked more of the flawed characters, like Black Widow or Gamora. Hope Van Dyne, Wanda, they have a full personality, the three-dimensional personality, where they can be vulnerable, they can be flawed, they can make mistakes, and stuff like that. And with Captain Marvel, she's kind of perfect in a way. She's confident, she doesn't make any mistakes, she's overpowered and everything. So I think kind of bringing her character down, so to speak, bringing her into an unfamiliar situation, and then having her team up with these two different heroes, would be really, really cool for a character. But yeah, speaking of which, I think seeing Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, because I think in this movie she's supposed to switch places with Monica Rambeau, and then suddenly she's in space. So talk about unfamiliar situations where suddenly you're in your bedroom in New Jersey, and then suddenly you're in an astronaut suit in space. So I think that'd be really fun for her character as well, kind of like a fan service moment for her, where she's idolizing Captain Marvel, and then suddenly she finally gets to work with her in a way. So I think that'd be really cool, and kind of a lesson of don't meet your heroes, where on one side you have Miss Marvel kind of idolizing Captain Marvel clearly, and then maybe she finally meets her and it's oh, you're not really who I thought you were going to be, and then having to deal with I guess disappointment in a way of meeting your heroes, and then kind of gradually learning to work with them and understand them a little bit more of who they are and why they do what they do. So I think that'd be a good maturing aspect for Miss Marvel, and kind of set her up for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, of learning to be a team player, learning to see people who they really are and not necessarily how you kind of see them kind of in your mind's eye and everything. So I think that would be cool for her character. And then on the flip side with Monica Rambeau, where there's some tension between her and Captain Marvel, which we don't really see too much. It gets kind of hinted at in WandaVision, but we don't really see it in fruition. So once we kind of put those two characters together, I think would be really interesting. Kind of see that conflict where it's opposite Miss Marvel, where it's I don't idolize this person, but suddenly I have to work with them in a way. So I think that'd be really interesting seeing those two get together and team up. But yeah, I'm actually kind of excited for this movie. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of Captain Marvel, so when it was gonna be like Captain Marvel 2, I was like, okay, yeah, of course, you gotta, because I know it made like $1 billion at the box office, so you gotta make a sequel. But to kind of bring in Miss Marvel, bring in Monica Rambeau, kind of add to this dynamic and be the Marvels instead of just Captain Marvel 2, gets me really excited. And then, like I said before, the whole switcheroo of like characters transferring to different locations of where the previous Captain Marvel was, and then all of them kind of coming together for this conflict, because I don't really know what the threat they're going to be facing. I don't think they announced it just yet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to the team aspect, and then kind of like the character arcs that these three women are going to be going through be really interesting. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it. So we'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, and lastly, hopefully they'll have more of like a tie-in of maybe like a Nick Fury tie-in, to just like see like what he's doing with the scrolls, and then kind of setting up this new Avengers aspect. Obviously, he was in the first Captain Marvel movie, and he has a relationship with Captain Marvel and with Talos and the Skrulls. So it'd be nice if maybe there's like a little tie-in at the end of this movie that kind of ties back into Secret Invasion, because chronologically Secret Invasion comes first. So maybe there'll be like a tie-in to the Marvels at the end of Secret Invasion, and then we kind of get more of like Nick Fury's role in the MCU, just because based on like the lineup that we have right now for Phase 5, it seems like he's going to have like a really significant role. But hopefully they don't kill him off at the end of Secret Invasion. But we'll see. Yeah, it's nice to see Nick Fury kind of back into kind of like a bigger player in the MCU, like he was in Phases 1 through 3, and kind of set up this next generation of Avengers to kind of set the stage for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But at least for now, if they do end up killing him off, they have more than enough heroes to take on Kang and in Kang Dynasty. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that briefly. All right, and then let's move on to Ironheart. Don't really have too much to say about this one. I really liked her Riri Williams' character in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I thought it was really cool seeing like two black women in MIT, or I guess three black women in MIT, with like Okoye and Shuri recruiting Riri for this adventure. It kind of reminded me of Civil War, of Tony Stark recruiting Tom Holland, Peter Parker's character, to fight on his side during Civil War. Where this is kind of like the flip side, where at first it was kind of like two white men, and now it's like two black women. Having this two genius black women interacting and everything. So I think that'd be really cool. I think it'd be really cool to see Riri's life within MIT, being this child prodigy, this 19-year-old child prodigy, and kind of like the fallout after the events of Wakanda Forever, because I assume she's going to be like all over the news and everything, of like being in her like Ironheart suit, and everyone's going to be coming out the wazoo to like get to know her and be friends with her and stuff. So it'd be kind of interesting seeing that whole dynamic, because I know there's been a lot of actors who've been casted in this series of like being like her friends and her enemies and her mentors. And yeah, speaking of which, I'm looking forward to seeing Jim Rash as like the dean of MIT, just because I'm a big Community fan. So seeing him as the dean in that show, and then seeing him as a dean in MIT, would be really funny, just because I he had that cameo in Civil War, so it makes total sense that he plays a dean in another show. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to like the tone of this show, just because how she was portrayed in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. She was kind of like this tough character, but she also had like this kind of comedic side. And obviously she's a genius, and is good with engineering and machinery. So it'd be really cool to see that kind of like the flip side of Tom Holland's Peter Parker character in the MCU. So I think that'd be really cool. And then the villain, the Hood, Anthony Ramos, big Anthony Ramos fan, Hamilton, In the Heights. So it'd be kind of cool to see him in the MCU. It'd be really, really fun. And I know there's going to be like some kind of tension between them. Like they're going to be like maybe allies and become enemies, where Riri kind of focuses more on like the technological side of the MCU, and then Anthony Ramos, the Hood, is going to be focusing more on like kind of like the magical, mystical side. So it'd be kind of fun to see, science versus magic. But I guess like earlier on in Thor, where it's like in my world, magic and science are one and the same. So we'll see if they ever address that. But I think it'd be cool to see a mystical villain against a mechanical hero. Be really a fun dynamic. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I know obviously we haven't seen any footage or trailers or anything for it, but just based on the casting and the premise and what we saw from her in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, it gets me excited for it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this series, and I hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets to season 2. But if not, I'm excited for 6 episodes and seeing her in the future of the MCU. All right, then we move on to Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Again, don't really have too much to say about this show. There's not really too much that's been announced for it, other than like the title and a couple of the casting and everything. I liked Agatha in WandaVision. I liked her up until like episode 8. Episode 9, she kind of became like the typical Marvel villain of like throwing her her purple energy at Wanda, and became just like this big CGI battle. Kind of like what I said in my previous video. I think it would have been interesting if at the end of episode 8 of WandaVision, instead of her becoming like the main villain, fighting Wanda, maybe she became Wanda's kind of dark mentor in a way, and like she introduces more of the Darkhold. She kind of snaps Wanda back to reality. It's like, hey, you created this reality in Westview with this fake Vision and fake Tommy and Billy. But hey, I can tell you about a dimension where you can visit the true forms of Billy and Tommy. You can be with them, and that could have been a cool episode 8 twist, where they actually have to form an alliance to kind of figure out more of like the dark magic, and have her become the Scarlet Witch, and tap into like the dark side, and tap into like those kind of multiverse aspects and everything. So I thought that would have been cool. Clearly didn't happen. They kind of had their big battle, and then Wanda turned her back into Agnes. And she was like this normal, nosy neighbor and everything. So it'd be interesting how they're going to tie that in, because I don't know if it's going to be a sequel or a prequel. If it's a sequel, then they'll have some things to figure out. But if it's a prequel, I really liked the flashback episode in WandaVision where they showed how Agatha became this dark witch, and just wiped out all these other witches and everything. So if they have a series just kind of explain like her origin, how she became this dark witch, how she got a hold of like the Darkhold, how she kind of sensed Wanda, I think that would be really, really cool. So we'll see what happens with that, if it's a prequel. But if it's a sequel, which I think it might be, honestly, I don't really know where they would go with it. But yeah, I love Kathryn Hahn. She's a great actress. I loved her back since like Parks and Recreation. Her character in that I thought she was great, and then obviously all the comics that she's in, like Anchorman, and even in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where she played like Doc Ock. That version of Doc Ock, I thought she was great. So whatever she's in, I'm game for it. It just depends on what the story is. Yeah, because I know I was looking at the casting, and like Dottie Jones, kind of like the blonde woman in WandaVision, is supposed to be in it. So I don't really know what she's gonna be doing. Maybe she turns out to be like a dark witch or something, and she becomes like an apprentice. I don't really know. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have too much expectations for Agatha, Coven of Chaos, but I think if they lean into the prequel aspect, more of her backstory, I think that would be an amazing show. But if it is a sequel, then yeah, they have some figuring out to do. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that one. All right, then we move on to Daredevil Born Again, which I kind of hinted at in Echo, but yeah, now I can finally gush about it. Yeah, I'm really, really excited for this one. Just getting those little hints of Matt Murdock in the MCU, like in No Way Home, where he's like the lawyer. Everyone in the audience just kind of like flip their lid for that scene, to kind of finally see him, because yeah, as I said before, the first 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix were some of my favorite series. It was probably was my favorite Marvel Netflix series at the time. So to see him finally back in the MCU, I know he was in She-Hulk, which was clearly the best episode in that show. If you want to hear my thoughts, you can watch my previous video on that, but I won't dive into that. But yeah, just seeing him in the MCU, seeing Wilson Fisk as Kingpin, hinted at in Hawkeye, and then finally he's going to be in this Daredevil Born Again show. It's going to be really, really fun. And I think I read reports that they're not going to continue the storylines that they left off from the Netflix version. This is going to be a whole new story, clearly Born Again. So yeah, we'll see what the tone is for this one. Is it going to be like a lighter tone? Are they going to keep the dark aspects of the show? I think if they kind of like had a mixture of both, because clearly Marvel's not afraid to have like a darker tone in their shows. Like Werewolf by Night was definitely very violent, where I was like surprised, like, oh shoot, this is on Disney Plus. But I mean, I didn't mind it, but I was just like, yeah, if you have kids watching the show, it's like, oh shoot, just based on the tone they had in Hawkeye, kind of having like that kind of TV-14 aspect to the MCU, I think would be really cool, where it can be violent but not too violent, which I think they can do perfectly. Just based on even like past movies, like Civil War, like other, Infinity War, there's like some pretty brutal scenes in those movies. Anything the Russo brothers touches, like you get that gritty feel. So having that in Daredevil Born Again, I think would be really, really cool. Yeah, I think what they can really draw from is kind of like the whole duality with Daredevil, where we have like, he's a lawyer by day, superhero by night, which they hinted at in No Way Home and in She-Hulk. But now they can really kind of get into that a little bit more, where She-Hulk, kind of failed. This can be part lawyer show, part superhero show, where, maybe every episode he's dealing with a different case. Where, this can kind of be like the reboot, so to speak, of She-Hulk, what She-Hulk tried to do, where, it can be like a procedural drama, in the first half of the episode, and like by the second half of the episode, it can be like he can be, taking on criminals and everything, and kind of show that duality. It's just like, okay, do I take on these criminals in court, or do I take them on in the streets with my fists, I think that would be a really cool, interesting aspect for his character. Charlie Cox is great. He's like, he hasn't made anything bad in the MCU ever since being in it, so I think he can bring a lot of like gravitas to that role, and kind of bring that duality and that conflict that he has. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then as for Wilson Fisk, I know this one he's going to be injured. So I don't know if this is going to take place before the events of Hawkeye, or if it's going to be kind of leading up to those events, or if it's going to just take place afterwards. But I think having like the setup in Hawkeye, the through line in Echo, and then having a resolve in Daredevil Born Again would be really cool for his character. I don't really know what his arc is going to be in this. I don't know if he's going to be like a super huge villain, bent on revenge for all these Marvel heroes, or if he's going to be like more humbled in a way. Because he kind of had that side in the Marvel Netflix version, where he kind of had the sensitive side, with Vanessa and everything, his wife. So yeah, maybe being shot by Echo will kind of humble his character a little bit more, and maybe he becomes like an ally for Matt Murdock, and maybe he kind of betrays him in the end, because he wants all that revenge that he had from the Netflix version of Daredevil. But yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting dynamic, have like that kind of Batman Joker relationship, where it's just like are we allies, or are we enemies? Or if Fisk kind of joins Kang, in a way, I'm not really sure how he'll do it, but maybe he can kind of become more of like a ground level villain, while Kang is taking over, the overall multiverse and everything. And then maybe Fisk can become like an ally in Secret Wars or something at the last second. Maybe pull a Loki in Infinity War, where he actually tries to go after Thanos, and then Thanos kills him off in a sacrifice, or like Wilson tries to betray Kang and gives his life for Matt Murdock. But yeah, anyway, that's all kind of speculation. Kind of overall, I'm excited for Daredevil Born Again. Yeah, I think it could be a really, really cool just reboot to this character now in the MCU. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm really excited for that one. All right, now we move on to Captain America: New World Order, which another one that I'm really excited for. As I said kind of before in my previous video, Falcon and Winter Soldier I thought was fine. I think it really could have just been a movie. In my opinion. So I'm glad that for New World Order, that's actually is going to be a movie, which I think is totally going to continue the storyline that left off at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where Sam Wilson is kind of accepting the mantle as this new Captain America, and now he's the black Captain America, and then all the baggage that comes with that. So I think that's going to be really cool to explore. And then the kind of the aspect of the fake news and everything being in this new world order and everything, kind of seeing him deal with that would be really, really fun to explore. And then obviously the side characters, like the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, who's will be Sam Wilson's kind of like sidekick and everything, kind of seeing how he kind of deals with being in this role and everything. And then obviously like Isaiah Bradley, I'm hoping that he'll become like a really cool like mentor figure for Sam Wilson of like hey, maybe this black Captain America and everything, but here's all the baggage that comes with it. Because me, I dealt with being a super soldier, and then kind of was experimenting on, and then kind of got casted aside, which they hinted at in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm excited to see him kind of brought into New World Order, kind of as this kind of like mentor figure to Sam Wilson, and kind of as he kind of deals with this new role of being the new Captain America and everything that comes with that. So yeah, I'm excited to see that for sure. And I'm also excited to see Samuel Stern, aka the leader in this movie, because I know he was hinted at way back in the day in The Incredible Hulk. So it'd be kind of nice to finally see him brought into the MCU again, just because there's like a lot of like characters that they had from The Incredible Hulk. They kind of just left on the sidelines, but then slowly but surely they started bringing them in, like Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, Abomination, Emil Blonsky, kind of bringing all these characters back in. So it's kind of nice to see, like, hey, Incredible Hulk is actually relevant to the MCU. Because I know they hinted at his character at the end of Incredible Hulk, where he gets his head knocked against the machine, and like the little serum is kind of going into his injury and everything, and then his head's expanding. So it'd be nice to see that. Again, I don't really know too much about the leader from the comic series, but just seeing that little hint at the end of Incredible Hulk seems like, oh shoot, this guy is a little loco. So yeah, it'd be cool to see how he kind of ties into the MCU, how he ties into Sam Wilson's storyline. And how he becomes either like antagonistic or an ally, and how he kind of fits into like the tone that they're trying to set with this movie. And then like one final thing, maybe they'll have like more of like the Thunderbolts hint. Maybe it'll be like a post-credit scene, kind of set up that movie, because Bucky Barnes is going to be in Thunderbolts, as well as Sam Wilson and Val, and they were all characters from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Kind of cool to see like connective tissue between those two movies. As well, kind of see like hey, yeah, whatever happened to Bucky? Maybe this can be like a post-credit scene to set up the Thunderbolts and everything. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that. And also be cool to see Harrison Ford replacing William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as well. Just because obviously I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Blade Runner, everything. He's great. So to see him in the MCU would be really cool, since he's already technically part of the Disney family. To see his debut as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross would be really cool. And then maybe if they have a hint at like Red Hulk, because I know that's a big aspect in the comic books. I don't know if they'll do it, because I know they don't technically have the complete rights to the Hulk. Maybe down the road or something, since at the end of She-Hulk they hinted at a kind of like a World War Hulk or a Planet Hulk storyline with Scar and with Bruce Banner. So maybe we'll see what happens with that, and if they ever do like a second season of She-Hulk, which maybe they'll hint, if they do it, maybe they'll hint at Red Hulk for that one as well. Again, that's all speculation. They probably won't do it. Maybe they'll have like a hint of it, and then maybe they'll save it for Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or something. The idea of a Red Hulk, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But overall, I'm really excited for Captain America: New World Order. It'd be really cool to see just a new Captain America, not only just the next Captain America movie, but just a new Captain America with Sam Wilson in that role, because he was great ever since Winter Soldier onwards. Just being really loyal to Steve Rogers and respecting his legacy, because Steve Rogers, Captain America, is my favorite character in Marvel phases 1 through 3. And then yeah, Sam Wilson is clearly the best man for the job. I know Bucky was also kind of in the running for that, but clearly he's kind of a murderer, so maybe that's not the best person to replace you. So yeah, I think Sam Wilson's definitely the best person for the job, and I've been looking forward to seeing him as a new Cap since the end of Endgame with that whole tag at the end, and then seeing his arc in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then finally resolving in Captain America: New World Order, seeing like the fallout and all the baggage that comes with being the new Captain America. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that one, and I think it can be really good. And then speaking of which, Thunderbolts, we'll move on to that one. Looking forward to this one. I know this one will be kind of like the MCU version of Suicide Squad. And I think, having James Gunn, who directed the Suicide Squad, not the first Suicide Squad, which was but the Suicide Squad I saw, was actually really good. So maybe if James Gunn, I don't know how involved he's going to be in it, or if he's going to be involved in it in general. I don't know if he is. But if he's kind of like comes on as like a writing consultant or something of like, hey, this is how you kind of form a team of anti-heroes. Like, not only did he kind of master that with the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies with having these kind of like anti-heroes kind of form a team, but he also did it with the Suicide Squad, and yeah, that movie was amazing in my opinion. So yeah, I think kind of bringing that aspect into Marvel will be really cool, just because you have Bucky Barnes and John Walker and Ghost and Alexei and Yelena and Val and all these like these disparate characters that are just like kind of like on the fringes of the MCU, where it's like, oh man, how are they gonna kind of coalesce into one team and everything, which I think would be really interesting to see. So I definitely wasn't expecting them to make this kind of movie, because they first announced it at D23, and I was like, wait, they're doing a Thunderbolts movie? Because I know the Thunderbolts are big in the comics, and Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is the one who's kind of like kind of trying to form like the anti-Avengers who do like all the stuff that the regular Avengers wouldn't do. So I was like, wait, how are they going to do that? And then they kind of announced all these different characters that are going to be in it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that actually really be really cool. So, and I'm glad this is a movie. I think it could have been cool if it was a series, and every episode kind of centered around a different hero on the team. But yeah, I'm glad that it's a movie as well, because I mean, obviously all these characters are already established in other movies and series and stuff, so we already kind of know who they are. So to kind of just see them all kind of come together into this one team would be really cool. And then obviously seeing them in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty would be really fun dynamic, kind of bending the rules in a way of like what it means to be a hero, and what it means to like fight all these supervillains and stuff. So I think they'll have a really fun dynamic. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this movie, and I think it could be really, really good. But yeah, I'm already kind of imagining like the different character dynamics, like kind of like how it was in the first Avengers movies, where all these characters just hate each other. Like, it'd be interesting to see Bucky Barnes and John Walker on the same team, how they kind of conflict, how Yelena and Alexei kind of conflict. Because yeah, we've kind of seen them all in these separate movies and series, so to have them all come together would be really entertaining to see their interactions and everything. And then maybe they'll kind of tie it into Quantumania, since I know Ghost is going to be in this movie. Maybe the post-credit scene will be an interaction with Ghost and Janet, since they kind of had like this kind of alliance to kind of help Ghost kind of get over her her illness, her transparent abilities to kind of solidify herself and everything. So it'd be kind of nice, like that would be like the hint to kind of draw them into this whole multiverse saga and everything, where yeah, there would be like a post-credit scene where like Janet mentions Kang and how they need more allies to kind of to face Kang in this threat, and maybe can throw like Loki and Sylvie in there as well, have that whole dynamic. But yeah, overall I'm really looking forward to Thunderbolts. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, I love all these different characters that are on the team, and I think their dynamic just in general will be really fun, and then how they're kind of brought into the multiverse saga would be really, really interesting as well. So yeah, I think there's really a lot of hope for that one. All right, and to wrap things up, we'll move on to Blade. I don't really have too much to say about this one. I'm really excited to see Mahershala Ali in the role of Blade. I loved him in Luke Cage. He was definitely the best part, where, spoiler alert, they killed his character halfway through the series. I'm just like, what? And I think anything that he was in was definitely the stronger half. The second half of that season was just like, eh. But yeah, he was definitely the best part of that show as Cottonmouth. And then him as Uncle Aaron in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. You know, he has that great voice, that intimidating voice, and then also as a Prowler as well. Was cool. So finally seeing him, you know, as a hero in the MCU would be really cool. I haven't seen the original Blade. I've seen the second one, but I haven't seen the other ones. But I really like the tone, the aspect of those movies, kind of like the darkness, you know, fighting off vampires and everything, and, you know, bringing in fantastical side of the Marvel Comics into the MCU. Be really fun. Because I know they kind of hint at that, like with Moon Knight and with Werewolf by Night. Maybe they're forming kind of like the Midnight Suns. Again, I'm not really familiar with that storyline, but I know like a lot of friends of mine were talking about that. So I think that could be cool, kind of like what I was saying in my previous video, where like they kind of like this dark Avengers universe where they can all kind of team up. You know, you have werewolves and vampires and all these different mummies and stuff like that in the MCU on a team. Like maybe this can be like their version of the Universal monster movie universe that they were trying to start with The Mummy with Tom Cruise, but that didn't go well. So maybe this is kind of like their version. It's like, hey, we're doing our own version here. Sorry for you guys, but at least we're succeeding. But they probably won't do that. But yeah, just seeing, you know, more tie-ins with Eternals, just because so far there's not really anything that's kind of hinting at Eternals at all. So I think kind of bringing them into the story would be really cool. Maybe like this is another aspect to bring them in, because of the post-credit scene of that movie was Blade talking to Dane Whitman's character, talking about the Ebony Blade, and kind of tying that in, because that you know, that's the tool that both their characters use in the comic books. I read up on that. Having them be brought into the story through this connection between Blade and Dane Whitman be really cool. And then also kind of tying that into you know, Adam Warlock maybe having an alliance with Pip at the end of Eternals, and kind of bring in those two worlds together. Be really cool. So you have like Adam Warlock, Pip, the Guardians, Blade, Dane Whitman, Eternals, all kind of forming this alliance, and then them kind of moving on into the larger MCU, and then, you know, facing Kang in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars would be really cool. So yeah, kind of like what I was saying earlier, I think Phase 5 is definitely it's kind of what I wish they started up Phase 4 with. Because I know maybe you know, I'm kind of like overthinking it, but I guess Phase 4 is really just kind of the introduction to some of these essential characters. You know, tying up loose ends from Phase 3 and then setting up stuff for Phase 5. But it's kind of nice to see, like, okay, now things are starting to roll out with this multiverse saga. Things are finally starting to connect. Things aren't just kind of thrown randomly at the walls. Things are really, you know, starting to come together. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that kind of connective tissue finally, and everything kind of come together for the next Avengers movies in Phase 6. So yeah, to kind of bring it back to Blade, I'm glad that they kind of have that tie-in to the larger MCU. But yeah, again, I don't really have too much to say. I know it got pushed to 2024, so we don't really have too much to go on with what they're going to do with Blade, and I'm not super familiar with the character, so I don't really have too much to be excited for, so to speak. But I love Mahershala Ali. I think he'd be really cool to be in the MCU, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see, you know, what aspects he brings to the cinematic universe. All right, so I've been recording for a little longer than I thought I was going to be. I guess I had more thoughts than I realized, but yeah, just overall. I know I've said it a bunch of times before, but yeah, with Phase 5, I'm really excited for this one. I think there's a lot of like movies and shows that are going to be really exciting. A lot that's going to be more essential for viewers and, like, you know, the Marvel fans, you know, in the MCU. So yeah, I'm really excited for this phase, and I really hope they kind of go with the stuff that I was suggesting previously in the video. But if not, you know, it is what it is. This is all kind of more just like a speculation kind of, you know, anticipation video for Phase 5 for my opinions. So we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, just overall, just seeing where they're going with it. And I think there's going to be like a lot of like essential things within the phase that'll help out for like setup for King Dynasty and Secret Wars. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's kind of harsh with Phase 4 in my previous video, but at least for this one, I think there's going to be, you know, just a lot more connective tissue, more of a through line, and more of a setup. So yeah, I really hope they stick with that. But yeah, I've been rambling a lot longer than I thought. But yeah, if you got to the end of the video, thank you so much. And yeah, if you like to see more of these videos, be sure to comment below saying which franchise you want me to take on. I'm still thinking about doing Star Wars, but I'm waiting till at the end of the Andor finale to kind of start that one, just because I have like a lot of thoughts on that show. But I'll save that for another video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.